inside of the Dynasty Draft Room. This is the Draft Seminar. I'm your host, Matt Hicks, the FF educator, joined as always by John Lobb, the Gridiron Scholar. John, today we're talking about Chase Claypool, the wide receiver, technically out of Notre Dame here. And this is an interesting prospect. He's at the top of a lot of people's eyes here. He's kind of this sleeper candidate for a lot of people. And we feel it's definitely important to talk about him. Big boy speed, a large catch radius. But he's somebody, John, that the suggestion might be that he actually should be playing the tight end position. So Chase Claypool as a wide receiver, as a tight end, how do you feel about him overall before we jump into things here?
Absolutely. So if I was a family member, maybe like an uncle, or if I was his what do you call
Agent?
it? Agent, I would recommend that the young man move to tight end in the NFL. It would greatly enhance his professional outlook. Look, he's a 4-star recruit from British Columbia, Canada. And he improved production every year on campus. You can almost make a graph linearly of all of his numbers, catches, receiving yards, and touchdowns on campus. In 2019, he was Pro Football Focus all-independent team. He finally blossomed as a senior with 66 catches or 1,039 yards and 13 touchdowns. Also, on his resume, he has been very versatile. He played in the slot as a sophomore. He was outside at the Z position as a junior because they had Miles Boykin. And last year, he moved over to the boundary to the X position as a receiver. Now, the combine is where he really opened up people's eyes. His 40-yard dash, we'll talk about that later, was stupendous. But his vertical jump and his broad jumps illuminated high-caliber athletic ability. So I really know that this young man is athletically gifted, but what type of football player is he? Matt, what do you think about Chase Claypool?
John, he's an interesting film study because he kind of gets lost in the middle of this wide receiver group, and you kind of have to proceed with a little bit of caution with these large wide receivers. It's not the way the NFL game is being built. But if we're thinking in terms of savvy fantasy football players, a guy like this who is classified as a wide receiver but may move to tight end at some point with that tight end designation, all of a sudden now he becomes a more valuable commodity. So maybe somebody you're investing in now, hoping that his career projects a little bit more on the tight end side of things.
I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, if he was in a tight end, if he said he was willing to play tight end and a team drafted him there, I might move him up to a second round grade. That's what I think of the upside if he's willing to move positions, my friend. Now, when we look at the career stats, if you're looking for the young breakout age, the 18-year-old kid, the 19-year-old player, you're not going to get that. But career-wise, he had 150 receptions. That's nice. Not terrific considering he played four full seasons on campus. Yards per reception is only 14.4. He's not getting open deep and beating the secondary vertically very often. Now, his catch percentage, this is really kind of a red flag for me. He only had a 55% catch percentage last year for the Fighting Irish. And why that is even more concerning is Ian Book is a good quarterback. He's one of those guys that dynasty owners are going to be watching over the course of the 2020 college football season. Ian Book is an interesting candidate for an NFL draft pick next year. But to have an only 55% catch percentage with a possible NFL level caliber quarterback is concerning. Now, his team aerial dominator, 32%. But that is very common in a Brian Kelly offense. I'm sure everyone can remember Equanimeous St. Brown and Miles Boykin. And if you follow Brian Kelly all the way back to Cincinnati, he puts the player in the X position in his offense and he feeds him the ball. Now, 40-yard dash, I alluded to it. For the man at 6'4", 238 pounds, he ran a 4.42. That is simply spectacular. Spectacular. but we don't have a 3-cone drill or 20-yard shuttle. On film, he doesn't get a lot of separation. I worry about he's not a quick twitch athlete. But Matt, what does the film breakdown say of Chase Claypool?
Yeah, John, before we jump into the film breakdown here, I want to point out one clip that I didn't fit in because there were so many other ones I wanted to, but you mentioned his speed. Notre Dame used him on special teams, not as a returner, but on the other side of things. And there's one clip where he shoots down the field and he recovers a forced fumble. And so, he does have the speed to keep up with some of these faster guys, and it's surprising for his size, but Notre Dame certainly saw that and used him as such. But let's go ahead and jump into the film breakdown here of Chase Claypool, the wide receiver, technically, out of Notre Dame. Here we go. Big man catch radius on this play against Iowa State. He goes up in overthrown ball there, but he makes it look on target. Big man catch radius gets the touchdown there against Iowa State for the Fighting Irish. Look at him here, hold on through contact against Virginia Tech. Now this ball isn't thrown as well either. It's a broken down play. It gets to him, and he just gets leveled as he catches the ball, but they had no chance. He holds on right on the sideline, good balance as well. This ball is thrown behind him, but he tracks it well, he controls his body well, and manages to make a catch that he really had no business throwing because it's thrown so far behind him, but he pulls it in, tracks the ball well in the air, and he is a contested catch winner as well, John. You can see here against Georgia, he goes up, makes a smooth finish on this, gets just enough space against the Georgia defender, and makes the play. So Chase Claypool, although we said it's kind of a mixed bag with him, he certainly has a lot of upside, John.
Absolutely. And when I watch the film, I have to always think about Brian Kelly's offense. He's had Will Fuller play the X, first-round draft pick. Now he's been injury-prone. But when he's healthy, Will Fuller's spectacular. Equanimeous St. Brown, he fell in the draft. He has not really hit expectations yet. And Miles Boykin, we saw last year, has potential. Let's see where his career goes from here. So this is a Brian Kelly offense that feeds the X receiver. Chase Claypool is a big body playmaker who defeats press and hand coverage with physicality. He uses size to box out defenders with a big frame, and he enjoys being physical. He shines in the red zone, and he bullies defensive backs with size and strength. But I'm not sure if he's going to be able to do that in the NFL. You got guys who aren't going to back down like they do at the college level. Now, he thrives in contested situations, and he wins these one-on-one battles against smaller defenders. In the NFL, I don't think he'll have such a big win rate. He's a high-caliber concentration, and he easily elevates to snatch high passes. You mentioned it. He excels on special teams. So you have a role if you draft this young man on your roster. He's an outstanding blocker in the run game. That's why I think he could make the transition to tight end or a move tight end, because he can block in the run game from the wide receiver. Now, I think he must improve technique and timing as a route runner. He does not separate well, and he is not smooth in and out of his breaks. He lacks creativity and burst. Now, I've seen so many players like him. I'm going to put him in this bucket. John Baldwin, coming out of Pittsburgh, who was drafted by the Kansas City Chiefs, and Akeem Butler, who was drafted by the Arizona Cardinals bucket. So he's in a John Baldwin, Akeem Butler bucket. I would love to see him go to the tight end, Matt.
Absolutely, John. Here at the Dynasty Draft Room, we have him graded out as a 77.3. That is a rotational player projection, and that is at the wide receiver position. Now, a 77.3, John, like we mentioned, is much, much more attractive as a tight end. So this is definitely a guy you're going to want to keep on your radar. He has big boy speed, large catch radius, and solid hands. We mentioned that, as well as his ball tracking ability here and that little bit of versatility like we mentioned. So we do think that Chase Claypool is a very interesting player and certainly a player you want to keep on your radar here as you go through your 2020 fantasy football rookie drafts. You can find all of John's fantasy football rookie profiles at footballdiehards.com. And you can find him on Twitter at GridironSchol91. I am on Twitter at the FF_educator, and you can find all of my work at dynastydraftroom.com. That does include the 2020 Fantasy Football Rookie Guide, chock full of 91 player profiles, just like everything we gave you here for Chase Claypool, but more. And you can check that out at dynastydraftroom.com. Thanks for listening, everybody. Class is over.